So, I have just unboxed the drone, the believer. Kind of laid everything out for you. So some interesting things to note. So the fuselage actually came together in one piece, connected up, and it looks like the middle was bonded or glued, and the front and rear were not, and that worried me slightly because I wanted to be able to get the glue in everywhere to be able to get a good bond, and if I was going to have to start pulling it apart to do that, that was not going to be ideal for me. And it was installed with this, which the wings connect to. And then I started looking around and playing with it, and I realized that this moved freely, so I managed to disconnect that one. This one was really stiff. It was as if this was bonded on, but eventually it came loose, and then the whole thing just came apart, which was good. So that's going to allow me to properly bond the fuselage together. So yes, like I said, the fuselage, some really nice looking carbon spires, I guess, rods, support rods. Not sure what these are, but I'm sure that's going to come in at some point. Get the wings, tail wings, and these come set up. I'm sure if you can see that, but not bonded. So I'm going to pull those out, bond them on. This is how the wings look when it comes out of the box. So, I mean, this looks amazing. It really does. A little bit of, looks like damage there. I'm not sure how that's going to fit. A little bit more there as well. I might have to sand that down. I'm not sure that's going to fit the amount of lift it produces, but I don't want to take any chances. So yeah, these obviously aren't bonded on. The carbon rods going through the whole wing, 2 of them, so that does not move. That is rigid. A little bit at the end, but you probably want that flex anyway at the end. One thing that's interesting is that, so we have the control surfaces here, and what they do is they've cut a groove in here that leaves about, I don't even know what that is, extremely thin connection to the wing. And I suppose the idea is that, that's where the servo goes. There's a little plate in there. It attaches here, and that will move up and down because it's thin enough that it will stay attached. But I'm doing some reading about this, and the prudent thing is to actually cut this off and then glue in some hinges. And I've got some hinges from the local RC shop to do that. Oh, here we go. There's a groove here that looks suspiciously like, yes, these go in here. That's probably to provide some rigidity to these, because I'm guessing when you're flying around with a 5 kilo drone and it's windy and what have you, you've got one point here where the servo attaches. So yes, it's probably to give some rigidity to the whole flight surface. and not give you any spurious flight characteristics. I'm really impressed with this. Apart from a few blemishes to the finish, which I can probably sand out and paint, this looks really cool. So yeah, this comes away. This is where the motor is going to sit. Probably the ESC in here too. I would like to fit some lighting on here. Obviously some LEDs for the end, but maybe even something along the bottom, just to kind of help me identify which way the aircraft is up, and you know, it kind of looks cool. So I'm not sure if there's a channel that's going to allow me to do that. No, not really. So I might have to make that channel, which I'm not too excited about. But we shall cross that bridge when we get to it. So that's pretty cool. So what else do you get with this? So this is for holding the flight controller down. So that's going to obviously fit in somewhere. This is a transparent Perspex. I'm not sure how well you can see it on here, but yeah, that's for the battery. That's battery tray. These are interesting. So they look like I don't know, D15s or D20s, but they're going to go in. These are going to go in here. So when the wings connect to the fuselage, that's going to have the connections to the motor and then the control pins for the ESC and the servo, probably. I wonder if there's any left over there for my LEDs. Let's see. If not, looks like there's other ways I can get the wiring through. Keep everything together. There's a user manual, but really it's pretty useless. It gives you a list of the parts you should have. I suppose the only useful part about it is checking you've got everything you need. And then towards the end, there's some stuff about the screws. And they list what each one is connecting for, so that's good. That's probably a little bit of ambiguity that's been taken away by this booklet. That's about it. One thing I noticed as well, I don't have any glue. There's supposed to be 2 packs of glue that comes with this thing. I didn't have any, and it's supposed to be here. It says here in my my manifest that I'm supposed to have some glue. Glue times 2. Not sure if you can see that there. And there isn't any. I've checked the box twice. There's nothing hidden in any of the pieces. They forgot to pack it. But I'm not that upset because, to be honest, I'd rather forget the glue than the wing, because the glue I can go and buy, which I have. So here we go. These are the servo trays that I was telling you about. So the servos they recommend are supposed to fit nicely in here, and they glue into the wings. There's a plate that goes over the top. That's rather cool. We got the battery strap and something to keep the cables nice and tidy. These are for the tail servos. Interestingly, with the tail, you don't have the servos in the wing like with the main wings. The servos sit in the tail, and the movement is transferred through this here. So that's going to go there. That's going to be that. And there's a bunch of screws. There's the motor mounts for the wings. So switch it over. So these are going to go in here. I'm guessing because the motor is going to be on the front here. So the screws are going to bolt through. So these are probably going to be on the back. And this whole thing, which is plywood, by the way, probably, yeah, it's going to sit like that. So like that there, the wiring goes through the back of that. Nice, okay. So that's really cool. What else do we get? We get some servo cables. We get some hatches. So bits of plywood for various things. For example, this goes on the this hatch here. This is the only hatch for which there's no closing mechanism, because this one is for the optional parachute. So this is the back of the fuselage here, and I guess this is something you can probably activate with a solenoid or a servo to release. So that's pretty cool. What else do we get? Yeah, so a bunch of screws. Initially I was like, what the heck? We get some servo arms, control links, some wiring. I'm guessing that's for the motors, although 60 EWG, I'm not sure if that's enough. If not, I'll get some more. Yeah, and the clips, you get some shrink, cable shrink. Yeah, clips and stuff for the wings and the hatches. And that's it. So you don't get any of the flight control with the kit. You do all that yourself, and that's one of the things that kind of attracted me to this, because it makes it nice and flexible, whilst being relatively cheap. I must admit, this thing is huge. I did a dry fit with one of the wings earlier, and yeah, it covers most of this bed. And this is a standard double-sized bed here in the UK. But yeah, just to give you, push this together like so. I mean, I've got size 10 hands in glove size, which is extra large, and you can see the amount of space in there is huge. Interestingly, you've got a little guide there for you to cut out if you want to use imagery. That's probably where your camera would go. Looks like this is where the flight controller bay is going to be. It's actually payloading your battery towards the front to keep the centre of gravity towards the front as well. And yeah, looks like a small bay here for the tail servos. No, the servos probably go in there. So what's going to go in there? I don't know. We'll find out. So as you can see, I have made a small head start. Really just see if the glue works okay. But a small head start on the on these things here. So you get these little Perspex tabs here, which hold the clips for which the bays are covered with. So this is the battery hatch, and then it's going to work like that. And it looks like it's going to be a pretty good fit. You're ever so slightly proud, but not enough to cause any major turbulence. So I'm really happy with the build. These tabs, obviously that one's already glued in. So you can't really go wrong with these. If I try and put this in wrong, let's see, it won't go. So it's been cut pretty precisely to get you to put it in the right place. You know, that's going to be a lovely way to go. So let's do that now. And then this is how the hatch clips work. So so you have the little lugs there. These go sideways on. You go into that little hole there, and then on the hatch, is that this one? Yeah, it's this one. There is these pieces here. Yeah, this is going to go, yes, like this. So there's a little slot in the front where this thing goes, which is going to help get it in. Obviously, these are going to get glued in. There's a little hole. I'm not sure if they're supposed to be screwed in as well. I don't think so. So I could damage it if I did. But yeah. Like that. And again, that's like a great fit. Really, I'm impressed with this. This is a really well done. So there's a final one back here. Let's glue that in. I'm going to glue one side of these because the reason the fuselage is in two pieces is so you can get all the wiring in place, especially down this channel here, before you glue it together. Otherwise, what you're going to be doing is kind of trying to push wire through. There's like plenty of places for it to get caught up. So you're going to have wires coming back through here, obviously for servos, but potentially for something else in the back here. Maybe a GPS or something. I think the GPS would be up here, wouldn't it? Anyway, yeah, okay, cool. So it looks like you've got spares as well. So there are three hatches with this push-click fit. Like I said, this fourth one here just doesn't have it. Sorry for the noise there. We have some people living locally who really don't care about the quality of life of their neighbours. And yeah, this is just going to go in. Oops, get this right around. Excess there. Lovely. Yes, and this hatch here, like I said, is for the parachute or offshore parachute. I suppose you could also use it to drop things if you wanted, but you have to be careful with the law. I know here in the UK and in America, the law says that you can't drop anything from drones. It's illegal. That's what the regulations say. So I'm not sure what else you could use this for if you don't use it for parachute. Maybe an additional battery bay, but you couldn't put too much here without affecting the center of gravity. So yeah, interesting little bay there, but certainly looks like that's fun. And I haven't got the flight control and the servos yet. They are on the way, so I wanted them after this, and that was deliberate. I wanted to know as much about the frame and the body before I started putting, or got tempted putting electronics in. So yeah, this is really cool. So like I said, I'm not going to glue this together yet. Let's see how those hatches fit. So here's the main hatch. Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah, there's a little bit of a lip, I'd say maybe 0.5 millimeter. Not sure if I'm going to be able to tune that or improve that in any way. The guys on the internet who've had these for a while, they said that they've never lost a panel hatch off these things. Yes, they do. They are pretty robust. Yeah, there is a bit of a lip there, which I'm going to work on and see if I can reduce that a little bit. And this is why I'm doing the this part dry, just in case I want to fine tune it. Looks like that was a good decision. Yeah, that's even more. That's definitely a millimeter or even more now. So yeah, that's a bit disappointing, but I'm sure. Actually, I'm sure actually by kind of, yeah, that doesn't fit very well. So yeah, these lugs here can probably be trimmed down. Get my craft knife on that. And once that sits proud, that might be a bit better. So yeah, we'll do that. And hopefully get these patches in a more streamlined way. Okay. So there we go. That's the kind of unboxing. As you can see, this is huge. I mean, it's you know, 1.07 meters long. So this is what, over 3 feet, 3.5 feet for you guys in America. I mean, that's just huge. I mean, it's just crazy how much space there is in there. Okay, so like I was saying, this is huge. I mean, I've got enough room in there for the battery, flight controller, and all the telematics and everything. I've got enough space in there for a stack of what? 6, maybe even 8 Raspberry Pis. I could fly a cluster of pies in this thing. It's huge. I'm really blown away by how big this bay is. It is absolutely massive. So yeah, so interesting to note there's no landing gear with this. Instead, you either parachute land or belly land it. And it's got these kind of foam patches which help protect the fuselage for that. Although thinking about it, so the wing goes on. And they recommend 12-inch propellers on this. I'm just slightly concerned that clearance is not great now. Do I have a ruler? No, it's downstairs. But with 12-inch propellers on there, I think that runs the risk of fouling on the ground, especially if you end up landing one side more than the other, which, let's face it, I'm not a great pilot, so it's very likely to happen. Maybe I should order some 11s instead. Well, something to look at, that's for sure. But yeah, just look at that, look at the size of it. I mean, you can't quite see here. This is the edge of the bed. This is a double bed. And that's right here, just a few inches from the fuselage. And this wingtip is all the way over there. That's just huge. Absolutely huge. I mean, I knew the dimensions when I bought it, but I don't know, until you see it, I suppose you don't realise how big it's going to be. Fantastic. This is going to be great. Let's glue those motor mounts in. So glue in there. So I'm just going to glue this edge for now. I won't glue the rest of it until we get this piece on. And that'll be after all of the ESC wiring is done in place, which I can't do until I get the ESCs, which are on the way. Maybe I should have brought it all together. So I'm not going to fit those plugs in yet because obviously we need to solder them before I fit them, otherwise I'm going to melt the plastic. Yeah, this is why I was concerned when I got it, because it's so tight. But I was like, there's no way that it's not glued on. I was wrong. It was not. It just fits perfectly. So we have these pieces which are going to mate with that. So and the screws are bag number 11. So that's 12, bag number 11, which is the M2x8. So we have the rods that go through those holes, and then these way up. Wow, actually, that's really. So it's connected all this time. Look at that. There is so little play in that. That is. I'm impressed with that. Yeah, that's good. That's so good. Yeah, put the rods through there. Yeah, so it is that way. It's interesting on here. These clips are on the top, whereas on the tail plane, the release clips point downwards. Good to know. So interesting to note that so these baffles connect to the servos, which are going to be in the tailplane or fuselage section of the tailplane. Because they're moving parts, of course, you'd want to grease them up. And usually they don't come pre-greased up. These have a, see that? Nice layer of grease in there. Okay, so what we've got here is looks to be a little bit of a lip here, and it's preventing, you can see this from seating fully, it's just not quite the right size, so we're going to change that. There we go, that's much better. Yeah, so a little bit of a trim makes this sit correctly. And that works. It closes flush. So that's an important thing to note. So you might need to trim this a little bit. Slightly better. It's not perfectly flush. So go in. I'm only going deeper into it. I've got to close it at all because the mechanism won't work. That's better. Still not perfect, but much better. So one thing to note is whilst this is big, this is pretty robust. I mean, look at the amount of foam there is in the nose. So if you ever do hit something head on, I mean, there is a good 2.5, possibly even 3 inches of foam, solid foam in the front there, protecting your internals. And the sidewalls, they're pretty thick too. So yeah, don't think of this as some flimsy thing. This is strong. This is, you know, it's not carbon fiber. It's pretty light, but as far as foam goes, this is pretty good. Really impressed with this. So I think that's all we can do for now. Yeah, so see there you've got the foam wall there. You've got, so that's close to 1 inch in places. That's where your camera is going to be if you're a camera. That's how it's going to be for the camera. So, you know, at least 1/2 inch in most places. And that's pretty cool. Right, so welcome back. A lot has happened. So I went back over the notes on RC groups, and that gave me a lot of pointers as to what to do next. So I've done quite a bit whilst you left away, so added that to there. I've also, as you can see, cut off the control surfaces off of the wings to start hinging them. So the idea being, it's not this one, it's this one here. There we go. So we hinge it back on and it goes there, which will come out nicely. So kind of started one of them already. That's off one of the main wings. So I got these hinges from the local RC store, who are not open because of COVID, but they do mail order. And yeah, it's these. I'm not sure if you can see that. These are really thin hinges, and they're very, you can bend them quite easy. But all you need to do is cut a slot in the foam, add a bit of glue, push it in, make sure it's square and perpendicular, and yeah, all was good. So I started with this one, and as you can see, I've got 4 surfaces there. These are all nicely in and dry and pretty much square. So this one looks like it's got a bit of glue in the mechanism, but not to worry. So we're going to glue this. Well, let's reattach this one. So yeah, I've also been gluing the ends onto the wings. So let's take off. I'll show you. A bit less glue on this one, it'll need clearing up, but yeah. So glued on now and in place. Mechanism still works. And it connects lovely. So we're going to glue this one onto the fuselage a bit. Excuse me. So I've done the main wings as well, as you can see. Those are all good, ready to go. And yes, I also consulted the instructions, and I haven't wired any ESCs yet, but I have put this panel on, and it's glued in, ready to go. The reason being is, from what I could see, it's quite easy actually. The ESC will go here, not inside here, and this is just a channel for the cabling. So, and it's pretty easy to get this through. So I'm not that worried about it, and it allowed me to forge ahead with getting the ends glued on. So let's get a tape off this one. I don't like keeping tape on too long, because then the bond gets really strong and starts pulling things off. So that's those two. Yeah, so when I was cutting the control surfaces off, I just used a good quality craft knife. And what I did was, so if this is the underside of the wing, that's where the groove was. I can show you on this one. So that's where the groove was. And I just used this edge here to kind of balance or hold or support the knife as I went down to make a nice straight cut. Bit nerve-wracking, it was my first one, but yeah, it turned out all right. So quite happy with that. Let's get this last bit of tape off. And yeah, we're almost there. This is, he says almost there. I think today we're going to start getting the fuselage ready to go together. Unfortunately, I need more glue. So I was supposed to get 2 packets of glue in the kit. I did not, but luckily I had a tube of this foam tack. And as you can see, I've probably got maybe I don't know, if I'm generous, a third, but probably more like a quarter of that tube left. What I don't want to do is run out of glue halfway around the fuselage, so I'll make sure I've got a full tube for that. But anyway, let's do these control surfaces. So, for my craft knife, I switched from a typical blade to this kind of straight blade here, and by pure chance, it was just a little bit wider than the hinges, just by about 0.5 mil on either side. So that's perfect. I really couldn't have organised that any better. So what I do need to do though is to align where I'm going to make my cuts. So for this, I'm going to need to mark flatten all of these down. So let's get this in the middle. What I'm going to do with these is I'm going to kind of cut them slightly wider, and that's going to give me a bit of flexibility to get this control surface directly in the middle here, so that it's not going to foul on either side. Okay, so as you can see, these are probably about 1.5, maybe 2 millimeters from the top of the edge, just because of that kind of groove in there. So I'm going to have the same distance on the top here. Hopefully you can see this. So yeah, down there. And these knives go through this foam like butter. Great. So I just want to make sure that we're cutting parallel and we're not going to come out of the top here. So the most important thing about these is that they have to be square to the top of the wing. Otherwise you've got hinges which are twisted, and then when you come to move them up and down, you're not going to get that full freedom of movement, that motion that you need. So going in, doesn't matter if you're absolutely parallel with the top of the wing, as long as it is square to here. And of course, I'm going to try and get them all at the same point. Okay. So let's do a dry fit. Let's see where we are. So what we do need to do is to kind of open these up a little bit. Just to make inserting the hinges a bit easier. It's going gently so as not to cause damage. Just easing the gap. There we go. So we're going to make sure we get full range of movement, but that looks pretty good. First ever one done. That's what I mean about the glue. There's a little bit of excess here. It seems to have come out. It's quite gummy right now. Literally just, there we go, done. Cleaned off, and that just flicks off to the bin. Done. Show you what I've done in here. So part of the plywood that they provide you, one goes here just to give the tail a bit of strength, I guess, around that hatch. And then this piece here connects to like a vertical strut, and that'll go on there, and the carbon rods that go through that plywood as well. So it just kind of gives it a little bit more strength to this leading edge here where it attaches to the fuselage, which I'm still amazed how well this fits. I mean, that is smart. That is so well done. I must admit. And you hear a lot of bad things about stuff from China, and I must admit I'm one of the guys who says that those bad things, but this is well done. This is great. So what we're going to do, so I've already done this one. Let's take that tape off before it gets. I must admit, when I first got this kit out, it was a bit daunting, but to go through it, I know I've been using that thread on RC groups, which has helped a lot. But even just without any instructions, you can probably figure this out over time. Now, the guy in the RC groups thread suggested only to do one side of these, and I think that's because when you glue the fuselage together, you want to have these in place, which then gives you the final position for this. So I'm going to heed that advice and just do this one. So that's pretty much all we can do there until I get some more glue, which is a bit frustrating. So, I don't think I've ever been as excited about receiving glue in the post as I was today. So, slightly different tube from the last one, even though I want to get from the same place, which is weird. Yeah, it's definitely the same stuff. Okay. So, so this was dry fitted. Let's get things ready to bond together. Tape ready. Parachute hatch. Right, so let's just work out where we need to go with this. So that's all of that. Not in there. But from here, on there. I'm a bit disappointed there's no kind of reinforcement for that because this does look pretty flimsy. I know I said this is quite strong in total, but yeah, this seems like the weakest part. So just be wary of that if you're going to get this and build it. So actually, on second thoughts, I probably wouldn't need that much glue because there's still some left in here. Nah, no, it wouldn't have been enough. So we'll start off using this stuff though. Use it all up. And we also need to get these in place. Otherwise, we risk forgetting them. And that is something I would do. So I suppose that gives a bit of support to this. So maybe we'll see. Once it's all bonded up, we'll revisit that and see if there's any improvement. Right, so let's start with this. Right, time to take this up. Okay. That's looking pretty good. Put patches on maybe. Okay. These pads are these are not for show. These are pretty tough. Time will tell, but they certainly look like they're in business. They'll definitely need to be down. Still pretty light. Yeah, no, it's Ep2 foam, but still. It's fantastic. Right. So now I've got the battery tray. Now, that's maybe not so great a fit. I've also got some straps here for the battery, which I haven't bought yet. Still deciding what I need. So yes, two battery straps. Shall I install these first and then go in? Does not look to be. There's a little groove there where just these straps go. Yeah. But there's definitely not enough purchase for me. Maybe the one area. Oh, okay, I was wrong. It does go in, but it's very snug. We'll come back to that before I go any further. So this is the mounting plate for the fault controller. That's going to go there like so. I guess GPS will come out of there. It doesn't just stick down. We have So we do have 4 of these left, but they do not look like holes that are suitable. Could be a little bit more like that would fit, but not way. No, that doesn't work. I'm glad it doesn't, because there's only one of those left, not 4. So 4 of these left, which I used on the wings for the panels. There's a much more obvious hole. No, it just won't seem to fit in there. That's supposed to bring that in. It does not look like it's going off perches. Just glue. I might be wrong. Yeah, this is fit in there. The holes line up. And that means screws will go through there into this, which are housed in this little groove on each side there. But they just sit inside there and get glued in. But I'm just not sure that's enough, strong enough to hold the screws in, I guess. That's it. So, yeah, there's nothing else going to hold that up. Just double check that nothing is missing. Now, apart from the glue, nothing else is missing. So it's like they're just gluing. Which, well, let's give it a go. There's one. Well, I'd love to get feedback from you guys. You know, I'm certainly no expert at this. This is my first ever one. So any points or tips or things I might have done differently in this build, let me know. It certainly help anyone else going out there building one of these. This is a voyage of discovery for me. Probably most of you too. So, anyone with more experience is definitely welcome. So find the chat on the Aerospace Village Discord. Put the link in the video description. Just come and join in. We're inclusive, I like to think helpful group of aerospace enthusiasts with a passion for security. At the end of the day, whilst this is cool, everything about flying drones, we are here to learn about the security of these things. So let's those in. Just dry fit this. Everything lines up. Okay, cool. I don't think I'll ever be glued in, because why would you? Just screw that in. This is where the guts of the brains will be on the back of this. That controller. When it gets here, the postage system is in the stream with the boys and girls at Royal Mail. So there we go. I'll leave that to dry for a bit, and then we'll come back and check everything still fits, particularly these hatches, and then we'll do a dry fit of the whole airframe. See how she looks. All right. Okay. All right. Left that to cure for a bit now. Cure set, whatever you want to call it. So. Yeah, that's solid. And okay, so my fears about this were unfounded. That's pretty stable. Okay. All right. So here we go. So, moment of truth. Let's dry fit. So. Right, so. There we go. Looks to be a little bit of excess glue on here, which has seeped through and just fouling that face. So I'm just going to give that a bit of a trim. There she is. Now that's huge. That is absolutely humongous. So this is a standard UK double bed. Push the wingtip all the way to the headboard. Yeah. So yeah, its wingspan is 1.96 meters. Yeah. And the fuselage length is just over 1 meter, if I remember rightly. But even so, it's not until you see it in the flesh you realise actually that is a big bugger. That is a big beast. But saying that, it's so light. And about. That's easy to manipulate. Obviously, once the electronics go in, it's going to be quite a bit heavier than this, but still not too bad. So I don't think I'm getting proper engagement from this clip here. So you can see a little bit of light here at the back, and this switch is not coming up fully, so that's not probably fully engaged, which tells me something isn't sitting right. Yes, it looks to be. Oh, it's one of those. So there's, yes, one of the screws from this latch here has come slightly loose and we're sitting proud. Obviously, that part was pre-assembled, so yeah, it is a little bit caveat emptor, just bear in mind that when you're buying things from China, as amazing as this thing is, it's much better now. As amazing as this thing is, they forgot the glue, and that screw was sitting a little bit proud. Now, in the grand scheme of things, that's not massive in terms of issues, but it could have quite easily have been one of these plates missing, and then I'd be on to them saying, send me a plate. And if they refused to do that, I would have had to have made my own using that as a template, which would have just added complexity to the whole thing, and probably sour taste in the mouth as well. So I suppose I'm quite lucky in that respect, but I think on the whole, I am very impressed with this. I mean, bearing in mind it was £186 delivered, so in dollars, that's what? The current exchange rates were about $230, $240. That's nothing. I've got all my pilot holes are drilled. That's the pitot tube. That's for the telematics. Spot for the GPS there. And I've got some holes at the side there for additional telematics. I think I might not use this. On the diagrams, it shows, a big, probably a 20 centimeter antenna coming out of here, which probably does the aerodynamics no good. If I can get away with using these here, even if I use shorter antenna pointing downwards, I should still get in a good enough attenuation on the ground plane to get a decent distance. I'm not going to be going super long distance with this because by law I have to keep it within sight anyway, so that means a few hundred meters, maybe a kilometer. That might be pushing it. White plane, blue sky. Could always paint this thing. What do you think about colours? Neon pink, bright red, neon green. I don't know. Throw new ideas. Could be quite interesting to see what colours I could use to increase the visibility and therefore increase the distance that I'm allowed to fly this in within the law. No, I am super stoked with this thing. So I'm going to get the rest of the bits on. I've got the panels here for the motors, ESCs. I've got this panel here. I've got the servos, everything to fit. But you know what? It's amazing. This is great. I can't wait. I really can't wait to get this in the air. It's going to be so much fun. Ooh, missed a bit of tape there. Right, well, there we have it. Also, I mean, I suppose she needs a name. I need to put my operator ID in here. Again, that's a legal requirement. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I can put a name on here somewhere, on the wings, on the fuselage, something like that. Throw me your ideas. I might even organize something special for the best one. So yeah, send your ideas in, and let's see what we come up with. Right. So just waiting for the electronics to arrive now.